Have you ever stopped to think about what really fuels the AI revolution? It's not just clever code or super fast computer chips. It's raw, unfiltered power. And Google just made a nearly $5 billion bet that whoever controls the plug controls the future of AI. So let's break down why this move changes absolutely everything. To really get why Google made this massive move, first we have to understand a fundamental problem. All these AI models we're starting to use every day, they are incredibly thirsty. They have a practically bottomless appetite for electricity, and that is creating a huge bottleneck that's threatening to slow the whole revolution down. And when I say huge, I mean it. The energy demand from data centers is projected to just skyrocket by over 160% by 2030. Think about that for a second. We're talking about almost tripling their power consumption in just a handful of years, all because of AI. The grid, well, it just wasn't built for this. And this isn't some problem for the distant future. It's happening right now. Just listen to Sheldon Kimber, the CEO of the company Google just bought. He says, "We've got the brains, the GPUs, all racked up and ready to go, but we literally can't plug them in." This is the whole story right here. The limiting factor for AI isn't silicon anymore, it's electrons. This brings us to a super important idea, a concept called time to power. This is the new metric that matters more than anything in the tech world. It's not about how fast you can write code, it's about how fast you can physically get your multi-billion-dollar data center connected to a power source. And right now, that process is painfully, prohibitively slow. So that's the billion-dollar question, right? When the all-you-can-eat electricity buffet is basically closed for business, how does a company with the appetite of Google plan to feed its AI beast? Well, their answer is both incredibly simple and incredibly bold. Instead of waiting in line at the buffet, Google just decided to buy the entire farm. They're acquiring Intersect Power, a top-tier clean energy developer. Now, this isn't just some feel-good story about going green. This is a hardcore strategic power play to control their own destiny. And they are putting some serious money where their mouth is. We are talking about a $4.75 billion deal. I mean, that number tells you everything you need to know about how critical, how absolutely existential this power problem is for their AI ambitions. But here's the truly brilliant part. Look at what Google actually bought. They didn't just buy a bunch of solar panels. In fact, they strategically left the existing operational farms with the old owners. What they bought was the engine, the expert team, the patents, and most importantly, the entire pipeline of future projects. They didn't just buy the eggs, they bought the golden goose itself. And why is that pipeline worth so much? Because Intersect Power had already done all the hard, tedious work. They'd spend years getting their projects approved and securing a spot in the multi-year-long line to connect to the power grid. So, for almost $5 billion, Google bought the ultimate cheat code, the ability to cut a 4-plus-year line. Okay, it's a fantastic move on paper, for sure. But how does this actually translate to getting power to a new data center any faster? Well, the secret isn't just about ownership. It's about something way more fundamental: geography. The absolute genius of Google's plan boils down to two words: speed and location. By controlling the power source, they can completely sidestep the slow, bureaucratic nightmare and create a direct, private pipeline of electricity straight to their AI. See, this is what it normally looks like to get a data center online. You propose it, you get in a massive line with thousands of other projects. You wait for years of regulatory reviews. Then you have to build all the transmission lines, and then finally you get to connect. It's a marathon of red tape. Google's new strategy? It's a sprint. It's called co-location, and it means they forget that whole marathon. They are simply building the power plant and the data center right next to each other. It's like creating a private extension cord from their own solar farm directly to their own servers. No waiting, no lines. And this isn't just a theory. Check out Project Quantum in Texas. It's the blueprint, a massive 840-megawatt solar farm. But the real game changer is the 1.3 gigawatt hours of battery storage. That's huge. And it's all going to be feeding a new Google data center on the exact same piece of land. And the craziest part? It'll be up and running by 2027. That's years ahead of what would have been possible the old way. So, a private power grid for your AI, that sounds like a checkmate move, doesn't it? But of course, Google isn't the only one playing this high stakes game. Their biggest rivals, Microsoft and Amazon, see the exact same problem. They're just placing a very different, and you could argue, a much riskier bet. This is where the next phase of the AI war gets really fascinating. It's no longer just about who has the better software. It has become a strategic battle between two different forms of energy: the power of the sun versus the power of the atom. Okay, let's break down this choice. On one side, you have Google going all in on solar plus batteries. It's fast to deploy, which is key, but it takes up a ton of land. On the other side, you've got Microsoft and Amazon betting big on nuclear power, restarting old plants, investing in these new small modular reactors. Nuclear is incredibly power dense and uses very little land. But, and this is a big but, it's slow to build and tangled in a massive web of regulatory risk. So, the most important thing to understand is this: Google's strategy isn't necessarily about choosing the best technology for the long haul. It's a brilliant hedge. While its competitors are waiting for their nuclear bets to maybe, possibly pay off sometime in the 2030s, Google is securing the gigawatts it needs to dominate the AI race over the next 5 years. They're getting power online now. So being faster gives Google a huge head start. But what's the end game here? And by turning itself from a tech company into a power company, what kind of new, dangerous territory is it wandering into? You see, this acquisition completely reshapes the entire industry. The question is no longer just about who writes the best code, it's about who has their hand on the power switch itself. Okay, part of the goal is Google's massive moonshot mission to run on 100% carbon-free energy 24/7. As of last year, they were at 64%. This acquisition, with its huge solar farms and, crucially, the batteries, is designed to help close that final 36% gap, especially for the hours when the sun isn't shining. But this kind of power comes with all new kinds of problems. I mean, Google is now basically a utility company. They have to deal with complex energy regulations. They've got to try and merge the move fast and break things culture of Silicon Valley with the safety is everything world of high voltage infrastructure. And there's a very real risk that during a grid emergency, regulators could force them to divert power away from their data centers to keep the lights on for the public. And this all brings us to the ultimate takeaway from Google's $5 billion bet. They have fundamentally changed the rules of the game. To compete at the highest levels of AI, you can no longer just be a software company. The new barrier to entry is owning the power plant right next door. And it leaves us with this one last fascinating question to think about. As we dive deeper into this AI-powered future, we've always assumed the winner would be whoever had the most advanced model. But what if that's all wrong? What if, in the end, the smartest algorithm is worth less than the most reliable, most secure plug?